Hello and welcome to 360 Gamercast UFO Special. I'm your host Mark Webb, Gamertag, Pearson D, Steam ID, Webby, 360G, and joining me on this fine evening is...
Take me to your dealer, Cinema Dan.
Hello, it's Hogarth.
Demon Knight, Damo, Ricardo is here. Looking forward to the show.
Awesome. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, so we've got Hogarth, who is a resident listener, community member, Patreon subscriber. So welcome, Hogarth. Been a very active member of the community for many, many years. Obviously, everyone knows Dan, podcaster extraordinaire, and always a reliable co-host. And we've got Damo, who I haven't spoken to in a very long time.
But nothing changes, Webby. You still sound so.
I know. And I don't age either, you know, I'm still as pretty as ever. But yeah, so me and Damo know each other very well. We actually used to work together for many years. We spent a little bit of time house sharing as well.
I said pumping up air beds.
Yeah, so when you won't find this funny, but when I was living, when I first moved in with Damo, I didn't have a bed, so I had this really shitty air bed. And every fucking night, it was me standing there going, just pumping it, going, just pumping up every fucking night. And it just become a running joke. It just made us piss ourselves until I actually bought us.
I remember the night you were pumping it up for about an hour, it felt like, and you just got it to the pressure, and then the thing just popped out.
Did you spend all your money on games?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Nothing changes there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we... when we were living together, we spent a hell of a lot of time watching, you know, paranormal stuff on TV, you know, the UFO and the ghost stuff and all that. And we were well into it, loved it. So, you know, Damo's well into all that. So I thought he'd be a good person to have on because he is a true believer. So
Glad to be here.
Yeah,
I believe.
A true believer. So I thought it would be quite fun to start this special episode because we're going to get into all the hard evidence that there is UFOs later on. But I actually would like to know if any of you have had any UFO experiences. And I think I will start with Dan because he probably hasn't.
I've had experiences which I can't explain but then I suppose with a skeptical eye with hindsight, you're able to kind of realise it's tricks of the eye, there's an explanation for it, that kind of thing. I haven't got anything that I can really rely on. I examine this pretty much on with a healthy dose of skepticism, in the sense of I'm able to see what other explanations are for something. So that's what I'm bringing to this tonight, I guess.
Right,
but
okay.
if you're going to ask me about any kind of experience with a flying saucer and little green men, you know, I can't help you there. But everyone's seen weird shit. But it's not always, you know, that. It can be something like, I don't know, like modern day, like a drone or something like that, or an airplane, or even a bird. It's just sometimes people's imaginations do get carried away. So that's what I'm bringing here today.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, man.
Sorry for ruining your first question.
No, mate, I thought I'd start with you since you're our resident skeptic. So
bring it all on. I'll listen to this lot. Come on.
All right, so, okay, what about you, Hogarth?
Well, you probably know I've spent the last 4 years doing a bit of amateur astronomy, and I've pointed various lenses and telescopes at the night sky for quite a number of hours and seen absolutely nothing that I can't explain. However, before that, I have had, I'll say two experiences. One I can explain, so I worked out what was happening, and the other one, I've still no idea to this day what it was. I'll start with that one. So in 2010, we were on a family holiday in Ibiza. No raving, no, what did Wes say? No biscuits.
Oh, you weren't popping any disco biscuits.
Yeah, no disco biscuits or anything. And it was just sort of early evening, dusky time, and we'd finished sort of evening meal, and we were sat outside having a few drinks. And just as a side thing, that the island was actually starting to catch fire, and there was talk of evacuations and things, so all sorts of weird things was happening as well. And this bright light just started, well, it appeared in the sky. I won't say it just appeared, I noticed it in the sky. And I thought, what's that? I mean, it must be a plane, but planes oscillate their flashing lights, and this was just a solid white light. And it was slightly elongated as well, but you couldn't really tell that from where it was. But when I zoomed in with my camera, and I only had a cheapy sort of point-and-shoot camera then, I could see it was like, well, that's not a plane. And there was no, you know, like when jets go over, you can, even the high altitude ones, you can still hear like a low hum of the jet. So there was no sounds whatsoever.
Yeah.
And this white light just literally, and everybody started to look up when I was pointing up and saying, what the hell's that? And everyone was like, yeah, well. So followed this white light across the sky, and I took a few pictures, and I actually posted them on a UFO reporting site at the time, back in 2010. And they've zoomed in on it, and you can sort of see the elongation. And that was it. And then probably about 3 or 4 months ago, I was actually thinking about it. Because of my sort of recent astronomy knowledge and doing shit for the last 4 years, I thought, I wonder if what I saw was the ISS. So I've seen the ISS many times now go overnight. And I'll say it looked very similar to what I see the ISS as now. So I found a website which showed the previous ISS orbits, and it did go back as far as 2010. And I checked, and there was nothing. The ISS didn't go over Ibiza on that night we saw it. So I ruled that out. So to this day, I don't know what that was. My second one, which at the time was very weird, but within half an hour, I'd worked out what was going on.
Right.
So back in my really early taking pictures of the night sky, me and a friend, we were up on the North Yorkshire moors at a place called Danby, and it's classified as a dark sky site, so it gets incredibly dark, and it's in the middle of the North Yorkshire moors, basically at the top end of it. And we'd been up there for probably a couple of hours, just doing some stuff, taking some pictures of the Milky Way. And at the time, I didn't have a telescope. I was just using a camera and quite a long zoom lens, a 600mm lens. And as we were packing up, I'd noticed over on the sort of western skyline, I'll just say something odd twinkling in the sky, oscillating, I'll call it. So I zoomed in with my lens, and all I could see was this very sort of strange, oscillating white light, but it was changing colours. It was going red, green, blue, and then it started to move. And I couldn't work out, so I got Ben, who was my friend at the time, who was with me. I got him to look through, and he's like, God, what is that? And we were looking at it for probably 5 or 6 minutes. But when I didn't look through the lens, it didn't move. But when I looked through the lens, it did move. And that was the first clue as to, oh, right, okay, this isn't what we think it is. And to cut a real long story short, this, as I say, this was my very early days of astronomy. There's a really bright sky that sits low on the horizon called Sirius. And it's the brightest star in our night sky. And because of where it sits in the atmosphere, it gets distorted and it gives it this very twinkling effect. And when you zoom in on it, that gets exaggerated. And it was basically that. So it was a UFO for about half an hour and then worked out what it was.
Can you put the link to your UFO story in the Twitch for people?
Yeah, sure. I'll put that in now.
So that first sighting you had, that's unexplained then. You have no idea what that craft was, if it was a craft. I know you were saying the skeptics out there would say, well, there was a fire on the other side of Ibiza, so couldn't it be like, I don't know, reflections of the flames, or you get the flaming embers floating around in the sky or whatever,
So it had literally a straight projection in the sky,
Yeah,
basically like a plane.
Yeah.
Thinking about it earlier on today, and stuff that I know about how stuff like the sun and the moon now work, the only explanation I can think of is the angle of the sun and the angle of the moon maybe that night was basically just making it the planes complete, all its lights be dimmed out by the fact that it was just reflecting the entire tube of the plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Okay. And what about the second sighting then? What did that end up being then? Do you know?
That's just the star called Sirius.
Just a star. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's fascinating. That is fascinating. Mr. Hovis has been in Twitch chat. It could have been a drone. I love
The
it when
first
people...
one, this is 2010. Drone, well, certainly sort of prosumer drones weren't a thing in 2010, really.
Yeah.
And it was quite high. You could tell. One of the mistakes I made with my photograph, and I got, well, they criticised, but on the site that I put it on, they said you should have put something in the reference frame of the image so we could see how big your view is of the picture you took against, say, a tree or a building or a. But obviously, at the time, I was just interested in taking a picture of what it was.
Yeah. You don't really think about stuff like that when you're in kind of in awe or maybe a little bit of panic or whatever. Yeah, that's fascinating, man. That's absolutely fascinating. It really is. Cool. Anything else you want to mention on that, Hogarth? I mean, those are fascinating. Dan, are you being sceptical on these things?
Well, in all fairness, it's a very logical explanation and an open mind to assess use the scientific method to explain it. So, sometimes you can't always explain something, but just because Nigel's gone through motions here and trying to work out as best as possible. So, yeah, some things are unexplainable. They are, and it's the term UFOs. But anyway, we'll continue. We'll dig deeper.
Well, what about you, Damo?
Well, I'd like to start off with a quote from Arthur C. Clarke, and one of the quotes, well, his only quote that's really sort of stuck with me was when he said there's two possibilities that exist. Either we are alone in the universe or we are not. And both are equally terrifying. And it comes down to that at the end of the day, doesn't it? We are either alone or we're not.
Yeah.
And if we are alone, then that's, well, firstly, a big waste of space. And the odds on, us being here are, well, there probably aren't even odds that, go that far. And I think over the years, you used to get the 1950s sci-fi movies with these little green men and stuff, and everyone used to laugh and that. But I think over the years that people have become more believing in, we call them aliens, and people do think of little green men, but at the end of the day, all they are is people from other worlds,
Yeah.
And the worry, one of the worrying things as well is if there are other worldly beings, they only need to be 1,000 years more advanced than us to be, the technology they would have would be out of this world. On top of that, humans only see in a certain UV light, so for all we know, there could be incognito aliens flying all among us everywhere that we just can't see. And the amount of strange things that do go on and are seen, there's a saying, there's more stranger in the world than heaven and earth. So I'm pretty open about it all. I'd be more shocked if it was found that there wasn't aliens or other people in the universe. That would be more shocking to me.
So let me get this right. So I agree with you in terms of alien life forms, whether it be sentient or not on other planets. Definitely, anything from bacterial forms to foliage to bipedal, whatever life forms. There's all sorts of different kind of variables out there depending on resources, molecular structure, any kind of environmental effects that causes evolution to go a certain way, and quite clearly that's I agree with that. Well, I kind of struggle with how aliens visit us. Is what you have to remember is that the universe is 13 years old, and us as a species are well, our evolutionary tract is infinitesimal. It's tiny compared to how big the universe is. So if you compare the amount of time that's happened versus the infinite space of the universe and the amount of time species have had time to evolve, you know, we could be in a scenario where civilizations have come and gone before, you know, we get to our prime in being able to get off this planet finally and go and explode past the solar system. So the whole kind of concept, I think, is quite of alien beings coming here and infiltrating our governments, or kind of, you know, making pacts with governments, or us stealing tech from them. A little bit far-fetched.
Well,
it's almost like...
I mean, there's a few theories on that, isn't there, Dan? And you know, you got to take them all with a pinch of salt. So, one theory that is quite, which people favour, in fact, in the UFO communities, is that UFOs and aliens have visited Earth over, you know, X amount of years, but they've evolved to a higher state of being where, you know, because people think, oh, they're going to attack us or whatever, but I think they're just coming to observe. And I think us as a species are not at a level where they would want to make contact, because they look at us and they think, fuck me, they're very hostile, you know.
Well, that's an interesting point, actually, Webby, because I remember someone saying, you know, if there's aliens out there, where are they?
Yeah.
Well,
Can I just put some context on?
Because they're not there.
How many people go into the woods to look for an anthill? You know, you're just insignificant. We don't bother.
Because they're not there doesn't mean they're hiding. Because you can't see them doesn't mean... I don't get that logic. I really don't. It's almost like, I want to believe something. So the absence of every evidence says that there's a cover-up or there's a conspiracy.
Oh no, but because like there has been some. I mean, I've been watching a lot of documentaries today, in fact, and there is a lot of evidence out there. You know, and some of the really good evidence that I know we're divulging from what we've seen, and that we'll get back to that. But you know, some of the evidence that has been in some well-produced documentaries on Amazon Video and on Netflix and various other sources. I mean, these documentaries have been going on for years, but the most recent ones that have come out even in the last couple of years. You've got, you know, people in government, you've got military personnel, people from the Air Force, all stating that they've seen UFOs. These are people that are trained fighter pilots. You know, there's been evidence released from the US government. There's, you know, and they're still going to be releasing more stuff this year. Well, there's been leaked documents online.
I suppose that refers to the document you're talking about that the Pentagon's going to release probably in the next few days or so, or weeks. Is that what you're moving on to?
Well, no, but because there's actual footage from fighter pilots who've been who've tracked UFOs, and you know, if you've got a fighter pilot, someone who's had thousands of hours of airtime, used to seeing craft, and he's flying along, and it's like, what the fuck is that thing? Just zipping around, doing manoeuvres that no man-made aircraft can do.
Are you talking about that footage where they're tracking two objects, literally sort of diagonal down to the right of them?
Oh, that's one of the most recent ones that's been released, isn't it?
Yeah, the odd thing I find about that is, whatever the pilots are travelling in happens to be travelling at exactly the same speed as the object that they're tracking. It all feels a little bit, I don't know, odd as that video. It stays exactly, when they've homed in on it, it stays exactly at the same velocity as what they're travelling at.
Okay, that's a fair point. Okay.
Oh, can I just put some context on some of the stuff that we just said about how big things are?
Yeah. Go for it.
So our Earth is in the Milky Way, and the Milky Way has roughly 400 billion stars. And if you think of our sun is our star, and there's 8 planets in our solar system that orbit our sun, so there's almost certainly planets that are orbiting the other 400 billion stars in our Milky Way. But outside of our Milky Way, there's estimated to be about another 2 trillion galaxies. And if you sort of work all that out, the universe is basically contains roughly, and this is a very wide number, between 30 to 70 billion trillion stars, each of which could contain multiple planets orbiting them. Now, our nearest galaxy is roughly I think it's 4 light years away. Current technology that we have, and that's the key bit, the current technology that we have to get 4.2 light years of travel time would take over 6,000 years with the technology that we've got. So for something outside of our galaxy to get to us when we're making an assumption that they've got the same technology as us, would take over 6,000 years to get to us. And that's just the closest galaxy. So the speed of light can't be broken as a law of physics. But there's things such as Einstein's wormhole theory, and whilst it's never been proven that his wormhole theory can be achieved, the thing that's going for Einstein is that every single one of his other predictions that he's made so far about quantum mechanics and how the universe and all those sorts of his theory of relativity have all been proven to be 100% correct after his death. There's tons of his theories that haven't been proven. And in theory, if his wormhole theory is proven to be correct, that actually opens the door to those distances that we are away from potential other civilizations to be broken. Me personally, I'm sat on the fence. So I look at that from a science perspective and go, we're just too far away from anywhere close to have come to us. And I won't say I was having an argument, but I was having a discussion with AJ Geezer earlier on in the in Discord. Right now, we've only discovered, and this is the other thing that's really astounding, is it's only in recent years we've discovered roughly just over 4,000 exoplanets that have been confirmed as planets. And the reason we can't discover planets easily is that they're not on fire like the sun. So all the stars you see in the sky are basically suns, and that's the reason why we can see them fairly easily. What we can't see are planets outside of our own solar system because they don't emit light. They're reflected light off their own sun, but that'll be very, very dim. And we've only discovered around 4,000-ish of those so far. And there's a very small percentage of those which are known to be in sort of the Goldilocks zone, the habitable zone. So they're in the right distance from their sun to be not too cold and not too hot. So my stance is there life in the universe other than us? Almost certainly yes. Has life visited us on Earth? I think no, because of the distance that they'd have to travel to get to us.
Can I just point out? That's a good point. One thing, I don't know if anyone's ever seen the series Ancient Aliens. Has anyone seen that?
Yeah, I love it. The dude with the crazy hair.
George.
Yeah.
I mean, right. I mean, the whole premise around Ancient Aliens is the aliens visited Earth thousands of years ago and helped us build the pyramids and all this sort of stuff. Whether that's true, who knows? But there's in every religion, it's the same story about this Jesus type person came down, magical powers, and he had his mates with him, all these gods that also had magical powers. And for me, what is more believable is that people with superior technology came and landed on Earth and did have this technology that they thought was magic. And a good example of this is that there was a team had gone over to these islands in the South Pacific, and they landed their plane. And when they left, all the inhabitants started building like a shrine to the people, worshipping them. They built a replica aeroplane, like one of these little fixed wing aeroplanes. Started worshipping them like gods. And going back to whether aliens have been here before, in Ancient Aliens, they're talking about, for instance, the pyramids being built. That is superior technology. There's engineers gone over there now saying, we would struggle to build this today. So either they did have help, or they were a lot more, technologically advanced than they tell us. Because as far as the Egyptian goes, they were struggling. They didn't have, they didn't even have a wheel. I don't think they had chicken bones to carve with. Yet there's these, massive columns with intricate carvings in them. And I know that people might have been really skilled in that, but they would have had to have the tools as well. And engineers are saying, this is laser cut. you can't do this without lasers, and that's 4, 5, 6,000 years ago. So
See,
it
that's
does
one
make
of
you
the
think.
theories, isn't it, Dame? I mean, there's a couple of theories about that. One of them is that the human race was actually put here by aliens. That is one theory. Could be true. Could be, might not be. And the theory with the pyramids, especially now with the hieroglyphics, you look at them and it's like half human, half animal people. Now, one of the theories is that they were actually carving aliens that helped them build the pyramids and help them with their civilization. Now, I know Dan's making noises,
Sorry,
but
I'm deflating.
you never know, man. We could have been put here by aliens. You can't say we weren't. It is one theory, and perhaps the aliens are visiting in secret just to see how their little human experiment is going on planet Earth. Who knows? It could be true. But yeah, I do love that theory with the Egyptians, Dame. I mean, I've watched pretty much every episode of Ancient Aliens, and it does resonate with me massively. I think because it's something. It makes you think outside the box. It could be true. It could not be true. Most people would just laugh at you, like Dan would, and be like, "Oh, it's a load of bollocks." But
There's ancient civilizations out there. There's plenty of them, like the Mayans and the Aztecs, the Incas, and so forth. And the pyramid isn't just a structure that's only isolated to Egypt. You also got them in China, and you also got them in South America, and
They're all
to
over the
various
world,
degrees as well. Sorry.
I said they're all over the world. Yeah.
Yes, they are. They are definitely. And I think, well, what do I think? I do understand. I do get that ancient civilizations were very technologically advanced compared, I say, as we were at the same time in Europe. They followed astrology. They understood different kinds of equinoxes, star signs, all sorts of stuff. Even so, you had basically what I'm trying to say is that ancient civilizations were advanced, but I don't think that was necessarily because they got the technology from aliens. Yeah, they looked at the world, they tried to understand it. When they couldn't understand it, they came up with what they saw, and they used the concept of deities and gods to try and justify, some kind of higher being. It's what people do when they don't have any answers. They make stuff up. So in the UK, when you had the Celts, they looked at for example, paganism, such as the whole kind of life cycle of death and birth and so forth. Over in ancient Egypt, they looked at gods, pharaohs, whatever. Even the pharaohs were king-like to a degree and decadent. It's a common thing about human beings. They need tribal systems. They need structure, and without it, they just revert to cavemen again. It's one of the things why humans are so unique. But I don't think we had a helping hand from aliens from that. It's just the fact that we've evolved to a point where we're able to build our own civilizations and build our own culture and language. Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is that the people back then they must have been far more advanced than we give them credit for. Basically.
Well, it's been proven. It's been proven that they were. They were coming up with all sorts of tools and ways of mapping the skies and all sorts of charts. And I'm not talking about discovering microchips and television sets, but actually creating tools and mechanisms and systems and ways of building. If you follow the history of Stonehenge, for example, that's a fascinating story of how they used engineering to transfer Sarsen stones all the way from places like Wales all the way to Salisbury Plain, and they up different stone circles. It's been recently discovered. They actually moved other stone circles to this new site, and they all did it through technology and mechanisms and thought processes. Just because someone essentially doesn't bath and shower and hunts for their own food doesn't mean they're not smart. Yeah.
No, yeah. A few things like coming to my head when you were speaking there. One of them was no one really knows about the Great Pyramids, what they're used for, because you're sort of told in school they were pharaohs' burial chambers and stuff like that. But then no pharaoh's been found in one of the Great Pyramids. They've got these tunnels going all over the place. They really don't know what they must have had a purpose.
Well, it was essentially it was to serve the gods. That's what they were. There was like a monument to an extent.
Monument to the alien gods, yeah.
Right, so we get back to the gods.
Aren't the Great Pyramids aligned with the Orion's Belt in the constellation as well?
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So I mean, getting back to the religious side of it, and you talk about worshipping the gods. Who were the gods? Were they just make believe people they just made up to, for whatever reason, or what do you think about that?
I think they were aliens, mate. To be honest,
it's either you go for something that's tangible in front of you. For example, we always had the stories about if you go and present yourself to someone like a tribe who's been in the Amazon, they haven't seen any Western civilization ever, and present yourself, they might think you're godlike. That's fair enough. But when you've got no answers and you're looking to why your life is shit and your firstborn's just died and why a massive great big plague of locusts has come along, and you don't understand the migrationary and evolutionary tracts of insects, of course you're going to make up there's going to be a higher power. And then stories and tales and culture and the way people communicate, that's when gods start coming together. People write those down in scripture. People start told you must fear this god, or you must celebrate this god, otherwise this god will be angry. That's what happens when you're unable to give proper answers to people.
Yeah, no, I do get that. That's a valid point about the gods.
It's the thing. This is the thing about any kind of extraterrestrial activity. It's hard. It's easy to, in my eyes, I suppose, it's easy to bring it into it and use it as a reason if nothing else is obvious to you. If that makes sense. I'm not trying to put anything down, but a lot of the kind of theories I hear, and I went for my stage of going through this and looking it up and reading about it, and one thing I always found quite a common thread throughout it kind of assumed that as Hogarth said, aliens would come here. We're insignificant, even if we were. We've only been evolved with civilizations for about, I don't know, about 3,500 years, maybe 4,000 years, maybe longer. I don't know. It all depends whether or not you believe in the theory of Atlantis, I suppose. But hey ho, all these rumors.
The Fermi paradox theory.
Yeah. What's their name for that? What's that exactly?
Well, it's the Fermi paradox. It's the different types of part of it is the types of different civilizations that exist or existed or could exist. And I think we're type 2. So we're effectively, I think type 3 is like type 3 has the technology to go outside of their own.
Yeah,
it's all a theory. It's quite an interesting theory, and some decent YouTube videos explaining what the theory is. But it sort of hangs together as a theory, but there's nothing to support the type 3 and type 4 civilizations that are described in it.
Okay,
that rings a bell. Actually, I do remember reading about it many years ago.
Need to check this out.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into too much because I don't know the detail on it, but. As I alluded earlier, I suppose you've got a scenario of us. We're only about a few thousand years old as a civilization, whereby we've managed to coalesce. We've got to a stage now. We're exponentially growing in terms of our population. We're going to get to a point where we are going to need more resources on this planet. We are going to exhaust them, and we are going to come to a point where we are going to essentially choke and flood ourselves with climate change. So I think, I don't know what, I kind of talked myself into a kind of an end here, I suppose. But
okay, well,
it's not that we're special. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Oh, well, there's plenty of people that think they are, Dan, isn't there? But but anyway, let's get back to if we've seen anything. Damo, you didn't actually answer the question if you've actually seen anything in the sky.
Well, yeah. So okay, when I was probably talking like mid-90s. I was in the park with a few friends, and it was dark, and we were just like hanging about, chatting. And I remember seeing this really bright light in the distance, and I didn't really pay any attention to it. Yeah, so
Yep.
this light. I remember looking up at it, and it still baffles me to this day. I have no idea what the hell it was. It was pitch black, right? There was, you got the street lights sort of illuminating the park a bit. We were right next to the tennis courts, so the fences and stuff. And I remember looking up, and this thing was shaped like an arrow. You know how you would draw an arrow with a triangle on the tail. And I remember really bright lights on the bottom, and it was really low, and it just glided straight over the top of us. And it was a really strange night because I don't remember talking to anyone about it until probably a week later or something. I said,
Wow.
I think
Was it? Yeah.
we was in the park, and as it was going over, I was like, it was one of those things where I thought, well, I can't even think what I thought because it just didn't make a sound. These lights were really bright and they should have been blinding me, but I could still see. And it just cruised off into the distance. And the people I talked to who were there that night, they were like, no idea. And because we were so young, I think we didn't really pay it the attention it should have got. But looking back on it now, knowing that it was so low and it didn't make a sound and it was going so slow, it just sort of cruised straight over the top of us. And it was, I mean, look, I would say it was at least sort of 100 foot long, if not more. But it was pitch black and all you could see was the lights on the bottom. So if you can imagine perhaps a blimp going over the top of you, not making a sound, just gliding across, but then you can sort of see the outline of it being a sort of triangle with a tail. And I know, I know me saying this now sounds, you must hallucinate or something, but the people that were there remember it too, and it was a really strange thing to see. Yeah. So
crazy, and that's the thing that people say when they see UFOs is the fact, like, the thing that gets to them the most is there's no sound, and that's crazy. Even with, like, you think of like a jet that's going really, really fast and it's breaking the sound barrier, and you get that sonic boom sound, and you can hear planes really far away, etc. And you get these UFOs that people have seen, and they're just dead quiet. That's what gets people, man. It's crazy, absolutely insane.
Yeah, and I did actually Google. I did a bit of research into it years later, and apparently around that time there was quite a few sightings of strange things in the sky.
Yeah,
but then, I would say a lot of what people see is military stuff, probably classified. So
this is what I was going to get to, because I say one of the theories is that all these UFOs, people see in the sky, is secret military technology. The military might, they've obviously got tech that we can't even think about. But I do wonder if they've actually, if we as a species have got the technology to have an aircraft that's like a saucer shape, doesn't make any sounds, and can dart, in multiple directions very, very quickly without sound.
Well, I think
it's not a drone.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're looking at like anti-gravity stuff. The force that pushes us down. I mean, years ago they were on about utilizing anti-gravity, and if they found a way to not only push us down but to lift something and move it around, then it probably wouldn't make a sound.
Yeah, it's mad.
You just need a beryllium sphere.
Oh, what?
That sounds
It's from Galaxy Quest.
I've not seen Galaxy Quest.
Very good joke. You love Galaxy Quest. It's great.
Yeah, I need to put that on my watch list.
The beryllium sphere. Sorry, I did chuckle. Yeah.
The problem I have with some of the sightings is, if they were military, why have they all fucking lit up like a fairground attraction. If they wanted to be secret, they'd surely right, we need no lights on this thing so people can't see it. Yeah, go fly around at night. So,
I'm more at liberty to think that some of these.
I mean, there's been a lot of day sightings, hasn't there? You know, it's
Yeah,
not
but
just all at night.
at the same time, there is an information cold war out there to a degree where it wouldn't have put it past some governments to start bullshitting about their technological capabilities in order to send other, foreign powers down a different line in terms of, tech development and military spend.
Well, can I talk to you about one thing that came up in the documentaries that I watched and I thought was very fascinating? Going back to the Cold War, both the USA and Russia both were seeing UFOs over their military installations, particularly over their nuclear launch sites. So they've had generals confirming it from the Russian and the USA side that they saw UFOs pop up on radar, and they actually also saw UFOs over these launch sites, and they actually had situations where when the UFOs were spotted over these launch sites, the nuclear warheads all shut down at certain times, or they all went live and they had to manually shut them down to stop them from launching. So what they were saying, these generals, is that they think that these UFOs, these extraterrestrials, have the capabilities to interfere with our technology, obviously because they're so advanced.
You're assuming they're extraterrestrials, mate.
Well, who else would it be? You know what I mean? You're going back to like...
Could be North Korea, and he's got a drone in or something with an EMP.
Well, then they're like fucking 50s and 60s. I don't fucking think so, mate. No way.
Well.
And this is what I found. I really thought was fascinating. Just the fact that they seemed very interested in the military installations. Now people could say, "Oh, it's just military test flights, or it's all a load of bollocks, or whatever." But then why would all these people come out and corroborate these stories? And that's what you can't prove or disprove, right? Is that all these collections of people come out and tell these stories. Why would so many people come out and lie about these things? That's what gets me, and I can't think of an answer for it,
I can.
okay, you think it's
I've already said it. I mean, you are one for conspiracy theories. It could be a grand conspiracy.
It could be a grand conspiracy because
it could be a deflection away from the technology they're truly developing. The whole kind of concept of aliens, flying saucers, little green men is a very convenient way of making people go down the wrong rabbit hole in terms of discovering the truth.
Yeah. So one of the conspiracy theories that was mentioned on one of the documentaries was the way that they want. So one of the conspiracies is that the 1% elite of the world want to make a world government, and one of the way and the conspiracy theory is that they want to keep the population in a permanent state of fear. So the first was the Cold War, and then they went for the terrorists. So with 9/11, etc. And then they want it to be pumping out a population of, make the populations fearful of aliens and UFOs. So they pumped out a lot of films which are bad against aliens, and they're putting out subtle hints saying, if the aliens come, they're all bad and it's going to be war. So what they're saying is no. So I just want to finish this conspiracy theory. I'm not saying I believe it, but I just thought it was very fascinating.
Good. You sound very engaged with it.
So this final piece was, they were saying that the governments around the world can actually have the technology to simulate, UFOs flying around the world or whatever. And then they're going to use that to put people into a state of panic so they accept a new world government. So then it will be the world versus the aliens. That's one conspiracy theory.
That sounds like a variation of something called Project Bluebeam. which is talking about a new world order, and it's in 4 steps, and it involves an alien invasion, basically. And it's meant to be a conspiracy theory that NASA's in cooperation with the governments of the world to create a new sort of religion and antichrist at its head, but it's meant to be, as Dan was saying, as a deflection away from the actual what's actually going on. But what you described there, Webby, just sounds like a variation of Project Bluebeam.
Okay. Okay, it's interesting. But then you've got, the other evidence. You've got presidents who said that they've seen aliens. You've got astronauts who said that. I mean UFOs. You've got astronauts who say they've seen UFOs in space, like Buzz Aldrin as a prime example. As I say, the military personnel, fighters, people who fly fighter jets. All these people can't be wrong, in my opinion. And that is why I do actually believe that aliens have visited Earth. I really, really do. You've got mass sightings where hundreds of people have seen the same thing in the sky at the same time. All these people can't be wrong. I would actually go out and say that the evidence suggests there's so much evidence out there that we have been visited by UFOs. You got to be crazy to fucking deny it. You got to do is watch some documentaries and stuff and see these people in these interviews telling their stories. Why wouldn't you believe it? And one of the theories is that the media have put such a spin on it over the years to make out that people that say that they've seen all this stuff is crazies, that in your mind you think, someone who's seen a UFO or whatever must be a fucking crazy person or something. You know what I mean? And I do feel sorry for these people that are called crazy.
If that's the case, how comes there's so many variations of what they've actually seen? If it's one alien species, one alien civilization, do they,
there might be more than one. There might be different. There might be more than one. How do we know?
That's that kind of, if you've got one civilization able to travel here, the odds of two, if you've been are you good with multiplying probability? It's very, very slim.
I'm shit at maths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never my strong point.
Whenever you hear these stories about different kinds of experiences or different kinds of sights in the sky, it's either triangles, saucer shapes, flashing lights, like balls of light. I don't know. There's all sorts of variations on it, and nothing's consistent at all.
Can I talk about Roswell for a moment?
You can, yeah.
The most famous UFO crash in history of the world. Now, the official story that came out about this was that it was a crashed weather balloon, which I think is a load of bullshit. Now, the reason I think this, again, one of the documentaries I watched today, in fact, they actually interviewed the guy who owns the farm who initially found the debris. And they actually had an interview with the UFO investigator who worked for the US military at the time. And he came out and stated that he was forced by his superiors to pose for photos with fake, stuff, and he had to put out the story saying, it was just the weather balloon. But he actually came out and said, there was so much debris, it was like for over 5 football fields worth of area, and they collected it up and it got shipped off to a secret area. The farmer came out and said what amazed him was the metal that he found was so thin, it was like, he said, and paraphrasing, it was like the tin foil in a cigarette packet. So you know how thin that is. But he said it was so hard you couldn't bend it, you couldn't put a dent in it or anything like that. And the UFO inspector from the military actually corroborated that version in this documentary.
I wonder if there's a job in the military UFO inspector.
Well, I mean, he's just inspecting it. You know what I mean. So you got these people talking about this, and it just makes you think, like, why would they say it was a weather balloon and then come out years later and say, that story was false. This is the true story. Blah blah
I've
blah.
got a theory on Roswell, Webby. Right, so,
Yeah.
so they originally reported it as a crashed flying saucer, and then the news were told to retract that statement and to change it to be a crashed weather balloon. They got it wrong. Apologies, and that was in the news either the day after or the week after,
Yeah.
whenever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jesse Marcel, the guy who was meant to be the guy who went out from the military to the crash site, was then asked to pose with this thin foil stuff that was the weather balloon in what is the famous picture.
Yep, yep.
My theory is, and it is purely just a theory, is this was just after the end of the Second World War. So it's 1947, I think.
Yeah, around that time. Yep.
It was known that Hitler and his nut jobs were messing around with, I'll say, I don't want to say anti-gravitational, but saucer-shaped.
Yes, I've seen the pictures of Hitler with a UFO. Actually,
Yes, he was. I mean, there's all sorts of conspiracy theories about why he was doing that. But let's just say that the Nazis were looking at saucer-shaped flying objects or planes, whatever you want to call them. I think because there's a guy who came from Germany who the Americans adopted after the war called, I think it was von Braun.
Oh, yeah, I've heard the name. Yep.
Very clever scientist, a very clever person who worked for the German military. He's now working for the Americans. What I think Roswell was a classified American military aircraft that crashed that very few people knew about, including the Marcells and the guy who worked in the military base who was there and discovered it, or went out to report on it, or whatever he did. And that's why they covered it up, because they didn't want it to be known as it was a military secret. They accidentally reported it out as it was a saucer, retracted that as now it's a weather balloon, and that's why the bits were taken away back to a military installation. That's my theory on Roswell. That might mean nothing.
Very logical. I agree with that. Well, I agree that probably was a military plane or vehicle, whatever. It's all a bit convenient for it crashing. Was it Roswell's in Nevada, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, it's very close to
Area 51. It's like very convenient. And
Area 51 didn't exist at that time, but yeah, there is certainly some key military installations nearby.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a good theory. I mean, you never know, right? I mean,
did you read that article earlier I posted about drones? How
I haven't actually. Sorry.
This actually was confirmed. I think I've read it in the Independent in a UN report, and this kind of goes down the avenue of where the military's going with kind of future flying tech, I suppose.
Yeah.
In the sense that as of last March, I do believe 2020, there was a confirmed report of the US using AI-controlled drones to identify and fire upon specific targets once identified using AI. So basically, the Terminator.
That's
this is where
shit, isn't it?
So this is where military tech is progressing now. This is where I suppose that they're thinking, how can they use, I suppose modern tech, or maybe drones are part of that kind of evolutionary process in terms of, drone strikes and so forth, of where UFOs came from, or where all the tech and development went. It seems to me that we've done some really, really big jumps from, I suppose, the Spitfire or the kind of bombers we used to fly in World War II, to the military jets, aircraft carriers, stealth bombers that go, invisible to radar and so forth. And then on to actually, remote controlled drones.
Well, one of the theories is that we're using alien technology.
Yeah.
It's one of the theories from a crashed UFO. It's one of the theories, man. You never know.
I struggle with that because essentially all our technological advances has come from the microchip and developing that and enhancing that and learning new ways of shrinking that technology. I still don't subscribe to that alien tech. Maybe inspiration from science fiction has
So
got
what
so
about
far.
Most famously then, Bob Lazar worked at Area 51, did the famous Netflix documentary that I know Hogarth has seen as well. explaining that there is aliens who came out of a crashed alien craft, were kept there. One was alive for a very short amount of time and then died. They were put on ice. They've been dissected, or one of them's been dissected. And he said that the US military have taken some of the technology. And he's been ridiculed for his whole life. And you can laugh at him. This guy has had his whole life ruined, and he's been laughed at the whole way through, his life since he, come out as a whistleblower. Really, I would say, why would this man lie about all of this information?
Explain to me David Icke.
Well, he's
He was a good goalie.
Mate,
yeah, but David Icke makes a lot of money from his stuff.
Exactly.
He's got a website.
Exactly.
This other bloke doesn't make any money from it. Yeah.
Well, he
just wants the information to be out there.
He probably makes some money from public speaking, selling T-shirts or whatever. When people go public such as this, there's a combination of there's two purposes, or a combination of both. One of them they've lost all their scruples, and the second one is to make money, or it's a combination of the two. Yeah.
I think Bob Lazar's a former bitter employee. So I've watched lots of documentaries on Bob Lazar, and I've read some books that were written about him. And obviously, he went very quiet for about 20 years, and then he just popped back up again with the recent Netflix thing.
Yeah.
And there was questions about whether he actually really worked at Area 51, and I think that's been proven beyond doubt that he did, because there's some of the stuff that he's produced that proves that he did work at Area 51, and there are some public records. I say public. There's some records that have been obtained that show him on telephone lists or telephone directories for the correct time period he claimed he was there. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that he worked at Area 51 as something during the time that he said he did. Where it gets a little bit washy for me is why he left the job that he was doing. And I think he was basically pushed out for some reason that he still hasn't admitted to. And this is his way of getting them back by exaggerating the conspiracy around what they're doing at Area 51. And whether he thinks he's making them look fools by doing this, I don't know. But that's my theory about Bob Lazar, is that I love Bob Lazar, but I think he's just doing a payback story on the US military.
Okay. So I've got another story from documentary. So in South Africa, there was a mass sighting with 20 school children and their teacher. So the story goes, I'm just going to shorten it down quite a bit. At the edge of the school of the big field, they see a UFO. The UFO lands and they see a being, like a humanoid person, outside of the UFO. Now, all of these children at the time and the teacher were taken off set separately and interviewed, and they all had the same story, drew the same pictures of the alien, looked exactly the same, and the spaceship. This was like 30 years ago. In this documentary, they brought them all back 30 years later, and all of them still corroborate that story. What did they draw exactly? So they drew, the what the alien looked like and the UFO, and it was all exactly the same.
What did the alien look like then?
The classic grey, with the big eyes, and the small mouth, and about 4 feet tall. They said the alien.
Okay,
was.
So they actually did a live picture of it.
Yeah, so they drew the picture. Yeah.
There and then they all got out the coach and drew a picture of it. Isn't that a bit weird?
Why is that weird?
It's like, oh look, there's an alien over there. Let's all draw a picture of it now.
They didn't do the exact time that they were fucking seeing the alien. They all got taken away separately afterwards. Right, that's what I'm saying. Taken away separately afterwards and interviewed, and they drew, and they were asked to draw what the alien looked like and the spacecraft, and they all drew exactly the same images.
It's a common. I guess it's a common design of an alien, though. That's the thing.
That's because there's probably what they fucking look like. Right? Why would everyone draw them exactly the fucking same? You know, it'd be more weird if everyone drew them fucking different, surely. Right? Come on.
Where did that actual image come from in the first place? You know, it's always baffled me, that one.
Science fiction movies.
The Greys.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Where did it come from? They had to come up with, you know, alien people, and you know, where did that come from?
Yeah, someone wrote it and designed it in a movie studio.
The thing is, if you're going to design an alien, you probably come up with something along the lines of Alien, not some humanoid with big eyes. You know,
We don't know. It's kind of. Well, I don't know the whole kind of concept. I mean, it's almost arrogant to think that an alien would look like us, but the humanoids, a bit like Close Encounters of a Third Kind, the aliens in that, or even Heaven being Mac from Mac and Me.
Made classic.
It's the whole kind of idea of what an alien is and what it always assumes that they're under the same kinds of laws of physics as we are. They've evolved in the same way, like bipedal, 2 arms and a head.
Well, one of the theories is that alien species have evolved to a higher state of consciousness. So
they're hippies.
No, they've got. So this is what they were saying, right? And they reckon that aliens have evolved. They're millions and millions of years ahead of us. So they've evolved to a higher state of consciousness, and that is how their ships move. How the fucking want to explain it? There is a reason why they can move so fast, and it's something to do with high consciousness or something. And the way it was explained was actually quite believable. And what they were saying as well was one of the reasons, because obviously the military have seen these UFOs and tried to chase them down, etc., to no avail. And there's actually a video of a UFO in space being taken by the space station. It's floating over the Earth, and then an energy laser comes out from Earth to attack it. So they reckon there's secret military technology trying to shoot at these spaceships.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
Right, and so one of the theories is that because the aliens have evolved to a higher state of consciousness, it means they're quite placid, so they won't attack us back, because they could just destroy us so easy because their technology is so advanced. But it's not like us if like, I don't know, if Russia attacked America, they'd be like, oh, fuck you, bang, and they'd nuke them. It's, the aliens are like, they're just very, very patient. They're just observing to see where we are, and we're not at that point where we can, where they would want to make proper contact with us, because why the fuck would you? We'd just go to fucking war with them because we're retards.
How come they've got all this tech and they haven't invented clothes?
Yeah.
Well, what they were saying is actually people that have seen the aliens are saying that they wear a very tight-fitting suits,
leotards,
something like that.
Yeah.
Mate, you're nuts. That's absolute gibberish. Sorry, it is. Oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you didn't take the time to watch any of this stuff. I think you'd be quite.
I don't
convinced.
know. Mate, I would have exploded. I mean, you listed 5 documentaries for me to watch this afternoon. It's like, mate,
3 hours each. Right.
I'm the time.
But what I'm saying, right? So there's only one you should watch, and that's the most recent one. It's called The Phenomenon.
Right.
Came out 2020. Has some really good footage. And some really good interviews.
So, quick question. Getting back to the religious side of things. So you got all these miracles that Jesus performed, and this is one of the things that they say they don't want to do full disclosure, because the religious community would be up in arms and cause mass hysteria and stuff.
I mean, Obama said that recently, didn't he? In the sense of there's a couple of ways the human race would react at the exposure of the human race, and one of them would be to make war, or there'll be an arms race or a military escalation. And the other potential one is that people will start worshipping these aliens, and that's easy to explain to a degree, I suppose, in the sense that they are of another world. They come with technology that we don't quite scientifically understand, and that's understandable. However, the whole kind of origins of Jesus Christ, it's not as clear. It's not alien driven. There's all sorts of literal understandings of Jesus and whether or not he was a real person, and whether he's an amalgamation of different ideas, or a person who was used as a way of creating a religion. Christianity, for example, was created by the Romans. And it took allegedly the figure of Jesus and made him the Son of God. There's all sorts of ways of explaining that and why religions come about. But yeah, you're right in the sense that if aliens were to come down, there will be certain people worshipping them. There will be. They'll be terrified at the same time.
Yeah,
I'm still keen to see a talking snake and a talking burning bush, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, they used to talk about what was it, Mount Fuji in Japan. There's translations saying that the top of it used to vibrate and rumble and basically take off and go off into space. And you've got all these miracles performed by Jesus. You've got all these things that happen, like parting the sea and stuff like that, which
stories, mate, made up stories. Stories is any religion. There's stories to make people believe, to be subservient, essentially. To give people hope. That's what religion is. That's what the stories come about from. It's a form of control.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's the point. It is. But the thing is, millions of people all over the world follow religion, and it all goes down to the same story. If you look at all the different religions, it's basically the same story with different names, and there's always miracles performed. And I do take your point on about basically
people believe in religions today. It's for a variety of reasons. It's faith, it's tradition, it's whether or not you've been born into it. It's an actual believing the actual scripture. And there's all sorts of. There's no true one way of following a religion or practicing religion. There's no one true correct way.
No, they're all like a similar story all over the world. Mm-hmm. And another part of this is the whole evolution thing. So evolution says we came from monkeys, basically, yeah.
Or the higher apes, yeah.
So, if that was the case, why isn't there any in-betweeners left?
If you go down
because we killed them all.
Well, if you go into any town centre, you'll see a few of those.
What you're talking about is you're talking about the evolutionary tracks. There's various subspecies of humans, or they were around, and they've evolved to a point. At one point, I think that the DNA studies show that there are mass of the population alive today with Neanderthal DNA in them, because Neanderthal was a subspecies of human. And over time, with any kind of mass population growth from, a species such as a human race, subspecies would get hunted and killed. They would get swallowed up. Whole tribes would get swallowed up. The women will get raped and pillaged, and the kind of gene pool would increase. And it gets to a point now where we've evolved to a point where we have taken up all the other subspecies of human. Of course, we've still got chimpanzees and gorillas around, But those are populations that didn't evolve as fast as we did.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm all for religion, but then you look at the Jewish religion, the Muslim religion, and Christianity. They all their a lot of their stories they all involve Jesus, and they all have similar stories as well within their books, Bibles, holy books.
So,
I call them.
you know, there's no missing link. There's no link between the apes and the humans. They've never found anything.
Because we never came from apes. We were put here by aliens. I'm telling you,
Oh,
it happened.
man. That's a leap of faith. That's a leap of faith.
You know, Adam and Eve were put here by the aliens to see what the, you know, we're just a fucking alien experiment at the end of the day. It's going to be War of the Worlds. They're all going to come out and eat us at some point.
You've got to say Adam and Steve.
Jesus' mum had an immaculate conception, apparently, and you know, if you watch Ancient Aliens, they're basically saying that she was inseminated by the DNA of an alien, and then she gave birth to a half human, half alien person.
Mate,
Well-
you can't see the face I'm pulling at the moment.
Well, you know what? It happened in the X-Files. Scully you know, she got abducted and she got made pregnant by an alien, and then she had a hybrid alien baby.
Dude, do you know what it was? Because
Jesus.
Gillian Anderson got pregnant through the series and had to be written out for a few episodes.
Well, I know, but you know,
Yeah. Okay.
one of the greatest TV shows of all time.
Maybe you never told us what UFO sightings you've seen.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
going to get to it. I was just trying to give you the evidence when we all were just wandered off.
The evidence.
All right,
Go
so yeah, so I actually have seen a UFO, and it definitely was a UFO. I'm telling you, right? So I was about 15. My mate Dave will corroborate the story because we were together.
Dubs.
Yeah, the deadliest man in gaming. Yeah, so we were we were out, you know, the lads. We weren't drinking or anything, and we were walking home, and we're through the house and say, but there's a big field, like a big cow field. So I was walking down, and I said to Dave, there's a really bright light in the sky over there. So we just stood there, and we were just watching it for a while, and we could see it was just like going, like hovering. It looked like it was hovering like left to right. Just there for a little while, then all of a sudden it stopped and just shot up in the sky like so fucking fast. It was unbelievable, a bit like a shooting star. It just fucking went, and we were just standing there going, "What the fuck was that?" You know, because like nothing can move that fast. Like just hover there and then just fucking go bang. You know, and there was no noise, just go, you know. Yeah, so ever since that day, I've been a believer. I really, really have. You know, I can't explain
What sort of year was this?
I was 15, so it was about 1999. Yeah, 99. That was.
And
yeah.
you're in a field, and was it summer? Had you been at a rave?
No, we hadn't. We was 15 years old. We was just walking
Okay.
back to mine. We'd been out just seeing some girls or whatever, as you do at that age. Yeah, we hadn't been drinking or anything. Or doing any drugs at the time. Yeah, it was. We were just gobsmacked, really, to be honest. Like, could not explain that at all. You know. Yeah. So yeah, I've been a believer ever since then. Really. You know, I really loved all that kind of UFO paranormal stuff. Really loved the X-Files, one of the greatest TV shows ever made. But yeah, I mean that seeing that just it convinced me. It really, really did. And no one can change my mind on that because you weren't there, you know. You know, it's just.
Well, so, you don't think it could be an optical effect of something glinting off something that makes something look as though it's in front in the sky, but as you move, it moves?
I don't think so. And why would something be still for that amount of time, slightly moving, and then just go whoosh, just go like so fast? It's like insane. You know. Crazy, yeah, you know, and you know, and people. I've told a few people have been like, "Oh, you know, you're probably pissed or on drugs, or you know, you don't know what you're seeing." It was just something. We're just like, no, like, we know what we saw at the end of the day, and we can't explain it. You know, what else could it be? You know, I can't imagine any aircraft moving that fast. you know. So yeah, that was that's the only time I've seen a UFO. I have seen ghosts, but I'll talk about that in the ghost podcast that we do. But yeah, that's been my one and only UFO sighting, and I just want to talk about one more sighting that happened in the UK. That's very, very famous.
Rendlesham Forest.
Yeah, the Rendlesham Forest incident. I think this is very fascinating. It happened in 1980, and I know this story's been retold many, many times on multiple documentaries, and a lot of people think it's a load of bollocks. But I find it fascinating. So so the shortened version of the story is, a couple of personnel from the base saw some lights in the sky, went out to investigate, and they say that they saw a UFO land in the forest. It stayed there for a while. They were like, "Oh my god, what the fuck is this?" Their communication systems, their walkie-talkies weren't working, etc., etc. And then it had multicolored lights on it, and then it fucked off.
There is actually audio transcript still of the investigating military personnel, because it's a US airbase as well.
Yes, it is a US
referenced.
airbase. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so there is audio transcripts of the actual audio that night, up to a point where they're talking about that. You sort of hear them saying, "What the hell is that? It's in the forest. Where's that light going?"
Yeah.
And certainly some of the recollections I've seen is that one of the guys actually went up to it and says he touched it.
Yeah.
But this is where it gets a bit woolly for me. In some other recollections, there's no mention of that. But and then that's not for me. That's like a key point. Someone says they've gone up and touched it, but then in other recollections of it, it's never mentioned. And I know there was a theory of there's a lighthouse on the coast just off, because this is sort of Norfolk, Suffolk area, I believe, down that sort of way, maybe top end of Kent. I believe quite close to the coast. There's a lighthouse, and one of the old theories is they were actually seeing the lighthouse light flashing through the forest on quite a clear night. And some people believe that they actually, rather than being embarrassed to say that yes, that's what it was, they then invented more onto the story of, well, actually we went and touched it, which then makes it can't have been the lighthouse.
Yeah.
So there's lots of theories about what it could have been. I'm tending to think that they saw the lighthouse light in the forest, didn't realise, but when they did finally realise that's all it was, then tried to cover their story up by not looking idiots by adding to it. That's my thought on what they did.
Oh, I mean, on a lot of these stories, military personnel saying that they've seen something that they can't explain, I tend to believe them because they're trained professionals. They know aircraft. They know military vehicles. They're more. I would find those sort of people more credible witnesses than, say, Joe Bloggs just down the street who says he's seen something, right? And so this is why, I have an open mind. Obviously, I'm not going to believe everything I hear, but I'm more inclined to think, this guy probably did see something, and.
No, there's no doubt they were seeing something from the audio, because I believe they saw something, but I think they then didn't realise what they'd seen, and when they did, they then covered it up with a bit more elaborate story to make them not look idiots.
Yeah, the dog ate my homework.
Oh dear.
That's
Is there any...
Sorry.
Go on, Dan.
No, I was going to say, I've seen that Rendlesham forest footage, and say it's a lighthouse, I think is. I don't think you can say it was a lighthouse. I mean, you got these military personnel wandering through the woods, and you've got the actual audio of what they're talking about at the time, and one of them's almost touching it. And for all those army people to mistake that for a lighthouse light is, I'd say, ridiculous. It was something else. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't a light from a lighthouse.
Yeah. We can't say because we weren't there. If someone tries to explain something to you, and you can just shrug off and say, "Oh, it's probably like," one of the famous excuses that these people give out. Oh, it's swamp gas. It's just swamp gas. You 500 people, who that saw the UFO was just swamp gas. You know what I mean? It's such a pathetic excuse. One of the other sightings, I can't remember the name of it, but there was one in America and it was seen by thousands of people. It was the big triangle UFO in the sky when the lights were blinking on and off.
The Arizona, was it the Arizona one?
I can't remember where it was. It's just on the, because it wasn't on the recent documentaries I've seen today. I just remember it as one that's been seen by seen by many people at the same time.
Is it where each of the lights come on and on at the, sort of within seconds of each other? Then at the end of it, they all go off within seconds of each other in a triangle. Yeah, I think that's the Arizona one.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's like a big mass sighting, and no one's been able to explain that, and that's many people saw that one, So it's like how do you explain that? You can't just shrug that off, surely. Top secret military plane that's just hovering there, dead silent, not making any fucking noise.
Yeah, it's called the Phoenix Lights, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the Phoenix Lights. That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know some UFO investigators have done some research into that and spent quite a bit of time and effort because one of the theories is it was military flares, but I think they've I'll say they've almost ruled that out because they tried dropping flares at the same sort of altitude, and the way that the flares reacted was very different to what the lights in the video show. And there's no denying that there's multiple videos of the same phenomenon from multiple locations in Arizona. So there was something in the sky, of no doubt, and the way that they light up sort of one by one is very odd.
Yeah.
I think when someone superimposed the daytime landscape over it, you could see that the reason the lights were sort of lighting up was because of the topography of the mountains that were in front of it that you can't see in the dark. Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things. I don't know what it was. I don't want to put any opinion out on it either. Just an odd thing in the sky. What do you think about this? The US trying to drop the term UFO for a more acceptable UAP type term?
It's fucking stupid, mate. I don't understand why they're changing the name of it. To be quite honest with you,
I think it makes more sense. Unidentified aerial phenomenon (UAP) makes more sense than unidentified flying object.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, UFO's been the word for so many years. It's just odd to change it now.
It is odd to change it now, and I get that. But the term object doesn't mean object, does it? In what someone sees, it is a phenomenon. You don't know if it's an aberration of a light, an optical illusion or a physical object.
And sort of an aerial could mean it's suspended from the ground rather than hovering or flying at any kind of velocity. And also UFOs kind of been sapped up. It now means little green men. It now means flying saucers. It's got that kind of B-movie connotations about it, to the point when someone says they've seen a UFO and immediately they're assuming, oh, so you believe you saw aliens? And it just seems a much tidier way. It's almost like pressing the reset button to actually, for this type of science to be taken seriously again.
Well, I suppose I can see your point of view, because whenever anyone says UFO, you just think of crazy kook, right? Who's just seen some alien spaceship.
Swamp gas.
Swamp gas.
Swamp gas. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on something like this? This has intrigued me, and I've got my own thoughts on it. Is that there's a very famous, I'll call him a TV UFO celebrity now in the UK, called Nick Pope. He used to work for the MOD, and he was in charge of UFO investigations in the 90s for the MOD.
Well, okay.
And my question is that why would the British government employ him and quite a substantial team of people under the umbrella of UFO investigations in the UK airspace if if it's not just a cover to say, well, we're actually investigating secret military inversions in our airspace rather than UFOs. But he always comes across as, I'm pretty sure when you look him up, his official job title was something like head of unidentified flying objects, something in the UK.
Right. Okay. I mean, personally, I think all the governments around the world are looking into, or have been for many years, looking into UFOs, and I do believe that they are of an alien origin. I don't think everything is secret military tech. Sure, some of it is, but I think a lot of the governments are worried and they don't want to release a lot of the information to the public because they feel that they will panic. I'm quite interested to see what the USA actually puts out in the coming week. That they said, because they're going to be releasing some information, but I don't think it's going to be enough, to be honest.
Did you see the recent interview with Obama saying he would like to know the truth behind UFOs or whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, surely anyone who would know the truth about the US president would. No,
because
go on.
Because what they've been saying is there is not even the presidents need to know. So basically, what they were saying in one of these documentaries, there's a big hole in the budget where they don't know where billions of dollars goes to in the military, and they reckon that there's just a very small amount of people who work for these deep black projects who know about the UFOs, and they won't tell the president because they're seen as someone, they're only in for 4 to 8 years or whatever, and then they're going to go. So they don't trust them enough to let them know about the aliens and the UFOs.
Mm.
And I can believe that. I can believe that there is actually...
So the report that's been commissioned by the Pentagon to come out. So what's your expectations of that?
I don't think they're going to put enough out. I don't think, because they control the media, what the media can say. They control the knowledge that people can have about the subject.
They control the media.
They do.
Right.
They pay them off. So this is what I was saying, right? Like a lot of the big papers, if they get news about UFOs or whatever, they fucking pay them off. No, you can't do that. Or in the UK, and I know
no one's given the note to the Sunday Sport, mate.
Well, and what's because they control it, because they're seen as like rags that people aren't going to listen to, right? But it's like in the UK, the government does control what hits the news. I used to see that when I worked for the public sector. There was certain stuff, there's gag orders put on all sorts of things that cannot be released to the media. And you'll be surprised the amount of stuff that gets gagged, I tell you.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware that happens, but I find it very hard to believe there's a world power that has complete control over the media when it comes to UFOs.
It's money, mate. You just pay people off. Job done. Easy. Everyone's got a price.
It's a very, very big net in that case. And I mean, I don't buy any of this bullshit, mate. I really don't. You probably guessed that.
I know.
I find it very hard to actually engage seriously. I find it very hard.
Well, any other sightings that you want to talk about? Because I've been going on about loads of stuff I've seen in documentaries and stuff. Is there anything that you guys want to discuss on the subject, or have we hit that peak?
I did make some notes on.
Okay.
Well, not notes about UFO, so to speak, but more so different types of related to films, essentially. In the sense of there was three key kind of topics, I guess, of how an alien species would come to the planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And there's three kind of approaches. I've got examples of each, and the first one, I guess, to an extent, would be come in peace in order to learn or enhance or communicate, to learn more for. And the good examples of that, obviously, was Close Encounters of the Third Kind, almost like a cultural exchange to a degree, although I don't think any aliens came behind at the end and stayed. I don't know. And then there was a film I watched the other night called Arrival. Have you seen that?
Yes, I've seen
years
that.
ago, yeah.
It's probably one of the best alien visitation movies of the modern era, I guess, in the sense that it kind of frames the whole kind of communication and the close encounter of the third kind of aspect, where that whole thing's built on vocabulary. And how would you learn from another species,
Yeah.
an alien species, in terms of vocabulary? Would you start thinking in how would you break that barrier? So that was really, really cool. And the other one, I guess, would be, I guess films that would actually alien invasion, hostile intent. And that's when it gets a little bit silly in my eyes, when stuff like Mars Attacks and Independence Day, where alien species or more of the world's even will come over here and basically having, pillaged their own planet or series of planets and looking to conquer. And then the other one I've got really, really kind of interesting, like aliens have got here incoincidentally, and that will be via stuff like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which the aliens, if you ever seen that, actually like Peapod people to a degree. And they come here by the solar winds rather than spaceships. So they literally just drift the planets and come down. And then there's stuff like Day of the Triffids, which arrive via a meteor shower, which people look up and they become blinded, and all these alien plants start growing and start picking off all the blind humans.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll just give you a side thought. It's an interesting subject, this whole kind of UFOs, because it has really, really captured the imagination. And the reason why I'm kind of talking about this to a degree is that, I love a bit of sci-fi. I love a bit of, thinking about different kind of concepts and how, they relate to the human experience. But at the same time, I can also see a lot of the time how there's also a kind of an influence both ways in terms of UFO sightings and vice versa, how UFO sightings influence film, and how, actual film and science fiction and pop culture influence UFO sightings. It's kind of interesting, it comes in tandem.
Well, one of the things that was mentioned in one of these documentaries I watched was that it seems that Hollywood pumps out mainly movies where there's an alien invasion and we go to war with aliens. And one of the theories of that is to get it into people's minds, as I mentioned before, that if aliens do visit Earth, they are going to be hostile.
That's a tall order, that kind of theory, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I completely agree.
The fact that the whole of Hollywood are in cahoots over that kind of theory, it makes no sense. But at the same time, as we were talking about earlier, there were a couple of approaches of how the human race would react. If you were to say, look, there's aliens now, they've come down. There's going to be people in society who immediately start grabbing the nearest stick, the nearest gun, start arming themselves, barricading, going down to a bunker they've been, creating or filling up over the past God knows how many years. Very popular. Huh?
Preppers.
Yeah, preppers. They just love that shit.
Yeah, and that is why the aliens who have visited Earth haven't made contact with us.
Yeah,
it was a great 80s, 90s TV series.
Well,
the original.
It kind of predated all the lizard people that David Icke keeps going on about, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like that lizard paedophiles who teleport through portals.
Oh,
I think that's what I saw David Icke talking about one time. I've watched one of his talks. I think it was on Netflix for a time, and man, he starts off, and you're following him. Okay, David, taking on a journey, and then as half hour to an hour in, the audience has visibly got a little bit lighter, and then out come the lizard people, and you're like, that took a fucking hard left turn. What the fuck's going on?
He thinks the Queen's a lizard, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why she's so old.
Yeah.
No
Basks in the sun every morning just to wake up. V was good, wasn't it? Even so, what other films, I suppose?
It's been a lot, isn't there?
There's been a lot. There's all sorts of shapes and sizes. I think the key point at the end of this is that I think the human race do not want to be alone. We long for our belonging and to explain our place in the solar system and the galaxy at large, or even the universe. Where do we live? What's the purpose of life? And we kind of bounce along, trying to work it all out, whether it's through religion, believing in science fiction, having our own theories, beliefs, what we're talking about right now, even. It kind of gives us a little bit of purpose, puts us on a path where we feel content, I guess, to a degree, or at least, unearths more questions or gives us more answers that we're seeking. Would you agree?
To a point, but I mean, I am convinced, man. I'm still convinced that UFOs have visited Earth, and I do think that people have already possibly made contact with them. And I do feel that the Roswell incident in particular, it happened, and I feel like a UFO did crash, and they had the alien bodies off there, and a lot of the videos I think are completely true that have popped up in these documentaries and on the internet, etc. I just feel there's too much evidence out there to support that there's definitely UFOs in the sky, and they are probably of alien origin because we just do not have that technology. Nothing's going to convince me otherwise at the moment. I'm definitely a believer. I don't know about you guys. I don't know if we don't want to do a round table. Am I going to be the only one who believes?
Mine's straightforward. I believe that there's life somewhere in the universe, whether it's a bit of biological soup in a pool of biological chemicals or evolved intelligent life. I've no idea. I don't believe aliens have been to Earth.
Fair enough. Dan doesn't believe. What about you, Damo?
Yeah, so I believe that, talking about the universe being 13.8 billion years old, and the Earth is, 4 billion years old, something around there. And talking billions of years, if you think about how much humanity has evolved in the last 100 years and what we've invented, and that's just 100 years, so aliens, if they've been around for 1,000 years extra, or 1,000,000 years, or even 1 billion years, their technology would be so far advanced we wouldn't even know they were here. And if someone put a gun to my head, not only are there probably a lot of different alien civilizations out there, but I would say they've definitely been here as well.
Good answer. Is this where we end? Is there anything else you want to mention?
Have you got any questions?
Well, do the Twitch people have questions? Did I get questions in the Discord?
I think there was some in Discord somewhere.
I'm just going to double check. Clarky79 says, do you think advanced alien civilizations would actually bother visiting us? I think so.
Well, it's going back to the ant theory. How many people go off looking for ants? Insignificant. But I mean, who knows?
I mean, I think they visit us to see where we are getting technologically, and and as I say, I think they've seen us, how violent we are, still going to war with each other, nuclear warheads all over the fucking place, and we probably just look so primitive, with all our infighting, etc. I think they're fucking not there yet. They're just fucking like cavemen. That's
you should watch
anyway.
You should watch the Fermi Paradox YouTube videos explaining that, because that's basically what that sort of covers.
Well, Turk Monkey's put a link in the questions chat for that, so I'm going to watch that later. 100%. It looks interesting. Cool. All right, next question then. Wes says, if there is advanced alien civilizations, how advanced do you think their gaming setups are?
Well, there'd obviously be Alienware PCs.
Perhaps we are the virtual reality.
Well, you never know. Never know. Perhaps they've
We
evolved
could
so
be-
much they don't need video games.
We could be in a giant complete computer simulation. You could be right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is that about the simulation theory. If you look at a game like Sims, they reckon in years to come, games like Sims, the people will actually believe they're alive. And who's to say we're not them? You know?
You never know.
There's three. As far as I understand, there's three possibilities in terms of whether or not we are in a simulation, and one of the situations is we definitely are, and the other possibility is that we're definitely not. But the other scenario is this: who would invent such a thing in the first place?
Aliens trying to mess with us.
Yeah. But what would be the point of it, essentially?
For the lulz. I don't know. Well, I want a better simulation where I have more money. So sort me out, people. Come on.
You pay for the fucking DLC, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's
Put
an
the time
interesting
in.
one. I mean, the Matrix.
Grind, mate, grind.
Yeah, I'm grinding my dude, i.e. me. I mean, when I watched The Matrix, I was like, yeah, man, that could be fucking... That could be real. You never know. Anything's possible, right? Anyway, Hey Byron says, tell me, guys, have you been seeing all the Tom DeLonge from Blink-182 doing all the alien research with his Stars company?
No, mate. I don't follow Tom DeLonge or Blink-182, I'm afraid.
Well, he's well into it, apparently.
Yeah.
And he is searching for UFOs. I love it when famous people are well into it.
Yeah, well, he's got a hobby. Yeah, social rider. Danny Dyer, even.
Awesome. So good. Okay, Turk Monkey says, do you believe in the Fermi paradox? If so, the chances that aliens exist are high, but they would have to be in a Type 3 civilization to make contact with us. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I know you.
Yeah, that makes sense. It kind of makes sense what he's saying now. It kind of. I mean, I did read that paradox a little while ago. It was all a question of whether or not what kind of stage they're at in their civilization versus us, and whether or not we're, important enough. If you would consider somebody an alien species in an intergalactic civilization whereby they colonize various planets, yeah, it's a bit like Star Trek, for example, and the Prime Directive.
Yeah.
They would bypass various planets because they weren't warp capable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Fermi paradox to a degree.
Oh, I love a bit of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Did I say that right, Hogarth?
Yeah, sort of. There's a bit more to it than that, but that's one of the main.
I usually find if you want to explain something to Webby, you've got to explain it in Star Trek terms.
The video that Turk Monkey's put on is really good at explaining it. To be honest,
I will watch that. Excellent. Cool. There's no other questions in the Discord, so is there anything else you guys want to mention before we end?
What's your favourite alien film?
So
Mine's Aliens, the second one.
I'm trying to think. You guys go first. Let me have a quick look at my.
There's so many.
Let me look at my Letterboxd account.
See, I'm really crap at remembering the names of films. That's my.
Describe them.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, War of the Worlds. I mean, I love War of the Worlds. Brilliant movie.
Well, the original or the remake?
Well, both are good. But there was one that I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's like about a big Iron Man that appears. It's a black and white movie.
Yeah, I know the one.
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yes, The Day the Earth Stood Still. Absolutely fantastic movie.
Yeah, I love that. There's the old 1950s version and there's the remake.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the 50s version.
Also, from that sort of era, there's a film called The Thing from Another World, where they thaw out this being that's been frozen in ice. It's black and white, but
is it just called The Thing?
No, yeah, it's what The Thing was based on.
Oh, okay. Because I've seen The Thing, the original The Thing. That was really good. And there was another. There's been loads of them.
Some of those old black and white. I think Quatermass in the Pit was another one that I quite enjoyed. Really old.
I heard of that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That.
I'm just trying to go through my lot.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh,
that's
for sure.
What I'm thinking of. That's absolutely fantastic.
I can't really add much more to those, to be honest. There's all sorts I quite enjoyed over the years. I did mention Arrival earlier. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, that is really well done. Yeah.
Stuff like, oh God, trying to think.
I've just remembered about a good one.
Okay.
I'll come back to it.
There you go, man.
Okay. This is quite a modern one, but it was really good. Dark Skies.
Not seen that one.
No, I've seen that.
I think
You
I've
haven't
seen
seen
that.
Dark Skies?
That came out in 2013.
And that was a really good film. It's, I'll definitely recommend that film.
Okay. Awesome. I will watch the trailer for that. Oh, I've got the music on. Cool. Anything
I can't
else?
believe that's a really good film, that is.
It's about it for me on that regard, I guess. I came unprepared with a list of movies, I'm afraid. I did mention earlier Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah, I've seen that many years ago. Yeah,
absolute stone cold, terrifying classic. Oh God, and there's other stuff as well. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I just want to move on a little bit before we end and say no one has mentioned Project Blue Book. I thought Hogarth would have mentioned Project Blue Book, being a little bit.
No.
Project Blue Book. That was made in the 60s, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't a movie. That was an actual just going off movies. Well, it was actually a TV series.
I didn't mean to say it was made, but it was a US UFO thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's where the US actually took the UFO investigations very seriously for a prolonged period of time.
And then at the end, they decided that UFOs didn't exist.
Yeah, but it's just interesting that they had this whole investigation for quite a long time. But
it's probably just appease people, isn't it?
Yeah.
But this has been a really good discussion, and I'll definitely be up for some more. Maybe we could do one on supernatural things next time. Or something like
that. I was watching this Dark Skies trailer. I think I might have seen this film.
It's really good. It's really scary alien film. It's probably one of the best I've seen.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna rewatch it tomorrow.
Don't you get yourself scared, Webby?
No, I'll try not to. But yeah, I'm sorry, David, for butting in. Yeah, we will do a paranormal episode. If any of you guys, I know you'll come on, Damo.
Yeah.
If you Hogarth want to come on Dan again, that'll be good. We'll talk about ghosts next time. Another paranormal phenomenon. I think that'll be a good discussion.
Yeah, I'll be up for that.
And then Dan can say it's all a load of bollocks again, and then I can say it's all real and there's lots of evidence. Be awesome.
Like clockwork.
Yeah.
I just wrapped up after 5 minutes.
That's it. But, all right, then, job done. Bye.
I think conspiracies want to be a good one as well because there's quite a lot of subject matter to talk about.
Yeah,
I mean, we could do a conspiracy episode every fucking week, and we would never run out of things to talk about.
Just Miles make up shit on the spot, yeah.
Oh, well, all you got to do is just go on
Facebook.
Well, yeah. There's loads of conspiracy theorists out there. So there's loads of stuff out there.
Like fucking idiots as well. They think the Earth's flat.
Oh,
I love those guys. They're great. There's a great documentary on
Netflix, isn't it? Yeah. Oh,
Beyond the Imaginary Curve.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the story when they go, right, we've got this bit of equipment now. We're going to prove the Earth is flat. The idea being is that they have two giant big poles. They'll elevate, and then at some point they'll shine lights at it, and then they'll put another pole, a couple of kilometers away. And then they realise when they level it all up that the light isn't the right place because the Earth's fucking round, and it's just fucking ridiculous. They spent $20,000 on a was it gyroscope or something like that?
They brought what's called a ring laser gyroscope, which is basically what planes use. Planes have 3 of them, and that measures the Earth's drift, and it should drift by 15 degrees per hour. And he said when we switched it, one of the community funded it, and when we switched it on, it drifted by 15 degrees an hour.
And we thought it was broken.
Yeah.
Idiots.
The best bit is the end of that, where there's a famous flat earther called Journalism, and what he's done is he's basically got a guy with a laser or a torch, some very large luminous source, and what they're doing is they're shining lights through holes in pieces of wood.
That was it.
And he's saying, "Can you hold up the light?" And he's saying, "We should be seeing that now, because if the Earth was flat, they should see the light." And he said, "Well, can you hold it up higher?" And suddenly the light appears, and it just finishes with the guy going, interesting. And then
Oh, no.
it's like, oh, you fucking debunked yourselves there, lad.
Yeah.
Twice. They debunked themselves several times over during that film. It's hilarious.
Such a stupid movie. But yeah, I do love a good conspiracy theory. Obviously, Alex Jones is the most world-renowned conspiracy theorist.
McCann, you know.
What's that?
Madeline McCann.
Oh, God.
What about the Mandela effect? Have you done any reading on that?
On the what,
What's
sorry?
that, sir?
The Mandela effect.
Oh, yes.
No, I don't know this.
Oh, this is brilliant.
Oh, this is where people believe that your memories have been altered, or because what actually happened, say 20 years ago, when you go look at it, it's not what you thought it was. It's
not isolated in one person. It's a whole group of people.
Yes.
Oh,
A good example is the best one to understand is, what do you think Tom Hanks said in Forrest Gump? What's his famous line?
Life is like
Dan,
a box of chocolates.
You got new legs, Lieutenant Dan.
So he doesn't actually say that. If you go look at what he says in the movie, he doesn't say life's like a box of chocolates, and that's what one of the evidence of the Mandela effect.
It's a bit like also Beam Me Up Scotty as well. That's another one.
Yeah.
When in fact, Mr. Scott, beam me up, something like that, or beam me up, and that it was never actually said beam me up, Scotty. Never said it.
Oh, wow, okay. That's fascinating. I'm going to read up about this.
Yeah, and then realise how much you remember incorrectly.
Wow, I can't remember what I did last week, mate, so it's not going to be fucking difficult, is it?
The reason it's called the Mandela effect is it's named after Nelson Mandela, and people believe that their memory of when Nelson Mandela was released is completely different to when he was actually released.
Oh,
Yeah, I
wow,
remember him
okay.
being the white man.
The what?
A white man. He was when he was released.
The what man?
A white man.
Oh, sorry, because he kept on cutting out.
No, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Oh, dear. Cool. Yeah, so we're going to do at least 2 more shows on the cards, right? So we've got, Nelson Mandela being a white guy. Yeah, so we've got conspiracy theory episode, or episodes, which we could easily do. We've got a ghost episode that I'm really wanting to do. So there's two things that we can do here, at least, which is going to be fun. But yeah, I mean, we've been going for almost 2 hours now just on the UFO subject. So good times.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to speak to you all. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been good fun. Damo, we won't leave it so long to talk again.
No.
But yeah, I think we could do one of these specials a month going forward. Maybe we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that's the end of that. So if you're a Patreon, you've got the whole show. If you're not, you're out of luck. You're not even listening to this, are you? But anyway, so that is the end of the show. Thank you very much. From me, Mark Webb, Gavin Tag, Pissody, Steam ID, Webby 360G.
The truth is apparently out there. Maybe. Something like that.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star. How I wonder what you are. Well, we do know what you are, and it's all wonderful. Hogarth, bye.
Okay, yeah, day mate, good night. Signing out. Good night, folks.
Awesome. And make sure you stick in the Discord group, Damo. It's good fun in there. We can sort out some gaming sessions.
Awesome.
All right, cool. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening to this UFO special. It's been fascinating having a chat about a topic that isn't gaming for a change. I've really, really enjoyed it. you now will realise that I'm a complete nutter and believe in every conspiracy theory out there. You wait till you get into the other. You wait until we get into the conspiracy show. Oh my God, you're never going to listen to me again. But yeah, on a serious note, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed talking to all of you. It's been fascinating. A big thank you to the guys on Twitch who've stuck with us for the whole time. A big thank you to you. And mainly a big thank you to all the Patreons. Without you, this show wouldn't have happened. So give yourselves a pat on the back. So thank you very much. We will see you next week. Goodbye. That's the end. Excellent.
Done.
Oh, I've really
It's
enjoyed
the
that.
end. It's finished. It's finished.
Yeah, man. Cool. So, yeah, we'll have to try and do. We'll try and sort out a date for the. What do you want to do next? Ghosts or conspiracy theories next?
I'm easy.
Well, I have heard that about you, Mr. Hogarth.
It's my birthday today, so I might be.
Oh, happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday! I was meant to say happy birthday to you at the beginning because I even put it on your Facebook page. Happy birthday! And I
Thank
was
you.
too excited about UFOs and I completely forgot. But happy birthday!
What a way to spend your birthday.
Exactly.
I know. Oh, mate, I think this is going to go down as the greatest birthday you've ever had.
Silence.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
It's all good. It's all good in the hood. Ah.
The ghost one, are you going to make it more? Well, I think you said paranormal, not just ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Paranormal activities.
perhaps we'll call it, paranormal because you've got different types of ghosts, haven't you? You've got the ghost you see, you've got poltergeist, various other.
This kind of goes that Derek Cora talks to.
You've got the orbs, haven't you? Various other spooky things. Yeah, man. Yeah, I think that'll be a good one. Yeah, so we'll have a paranormal episode. We won't just call it ghosts. We'll call it paranormal. So shall we do the paranormal one next, and then we'll do conspiracy theories afterwards? Because I think once we hit conspiracy theories, it might become a bit of a recurring subject because it's just so you can't fit all the conspiracy theories into one episode. I don't think.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Because we'll only be able to tackle a few at a time, I think. Because I think it'll make for some good discussions.
There's so many, isn't there? JFK, Loch Ness.
Yeah. Vaccines.
No.
Chemtrails from aeroplanes.
Oh my God.
There's loads of stuff, man. Government, the secret world order. So many. Oh, good times. Well, dudes, I'm going to chip. It's been fun.
Cool, man. No worries,
been
man.
Emotional. Again, thank you to everyone on Twitch. Thank you for staying with us, and we'll see you soon.
See you later, man.